Turkey bites back against the Assad regime. Ankara says it will repay its own casualties.
A ceasefire in Idlib must be confirmed as soon as possible. In order for it to be permanent, the Assad regime's aggression must be stopped. President Erdogan has emphasized that Turkey will take the necessary measures if the Assad regime continues its aggressions.
Airlifted to hospital, some of the Turkish troops injured in Assad's latest assault on Idlib. Assad is trying to recapture the province from rebel forces, rebels often armed by Turkey. 5 Turkish casualties followed 8 others last week, all at the hands of Assad's forces. This is the latest in a series of escalations between Turkey and Syria. Turkey wants to defend its border with Syria, and the Assad regime wants to regain influence within its own borders. The civilian cost of all this has been high. In recent weeks, nearly 700,000 civilians have been displaced. At dawn, a Turkish military convoy enters northern Syria, joining the effort to halt Assad's offensive, showing that Turkey means what it says about defending its own border.
Okay, let's get more on this story now from DW's Turkey correspondent, Yulia Han in Istanbul. Good day to you, Yulia. How significant is this latest escalation between Syria and Turkey?
Well, direct clashes between NATO member Turkey and Syrian regime forces have been extremely rare in the nearly 9-year-old Syrian conflict. Turkey has militarily intervened in 3 operations so far in Syria against the so-called Islamic State, against Kurdish-led forces it considers a terrorist threat, but it has so far avoided attacking Assad's troops. So what we have been seeing there, the latest incidents, are some of the most serious confrontations between the 2 countries so far. In the past week, Turkey has tried to reinforce its military posts in Idlib by sending in hundreds of military vehicles and reportedly thousands of troops. So all of this in an attempt to stem Assad's deadly offensive on Idlib, and all of that, as you can imagine, adds more instability to an already toxic mix there.
Yulia, why is Idlib so strategically important that both Syria and Turkey are willing to escalate the deadly fighting there?
Well, Idlib is one of the last remaining areas out of Bashar al-Assad's control, the last rebel-held bastion there in Syria, home to about 3 million people, most of them internally displaced. Assad wants to retake all of Syria, so he definitely needs Idlib. Turkey's President Erdogan, on the other hand, wants to stop Assad because if Idlib falls, Turkey faces another large-scale influx of refugees. Hundreds of thousands of people have already fled to areas near the Turkish border. Some say up to 1 million are basically waiting there in search for security, fleeing Assad's Russian-backed offensive. Turkish President Erdogan has repeatedly said he already hosts 4 million refugees. That is something that has proven politically costly for him. So he says we can't take any more refugees. And then, of course, look at the humanitarian situation there. People are living in makeshift camps. It's winter, it's freezingly cold, and some organizations say that nearly half of Idlib's 3 million civilians are children.
Okay, now, Yulia, with so much at stake for both sides, where can we expect things to go from here?
Well, that's difficult to say. Much will probably depend on Russia, President Bashar al-Assad's most important international backer. President Erdogan has given Damascus until the end of the month to retreat to ceasefire lines that he agreed on with President Putin in 2018. But so far, Assad does not seem to be interested in that. Turkey is holding talks with Russia since Saturday, but these talks have also not yielded any results yet. So the question is Russia able or willing to rein in Assad? So we're going to see the tensions further increase, I'm afraid, but we'll have an eye on that, keep an eye on that and watch the situation closely.
Okay, Yulia, for now, thanks so very much for that from Istanbul.